Hi everybody, I'm Grace LaConte and I'm sharing a live video today just to talk about some things that have been happening recently. I'm really excited about this new series of blog posts that I'm doing on the practice niche. It's basically a thought process that you would have as a practitioner or business owner to create an environment that's perfect for the types of patients that you can serve in the best way, that receive the best outcomes from your care, who have an affinity to your philosophy and your beliefs, someone who's going to pay you on time, someone who understands your policies and procedures and doesn't question them and kind of falls in line with your way of doing things. And so when you decide to create a niche, it's based on what the market is telling you and how people are deciding to purchase, but it's also based on a very deep understanding of who your primary audience is, your target patient or your target customer. So I'm going to be featuring very soon some people that I'm interviewing. I'm so excited to share their stories with you. One of them is Beth Peterson with Unwind, Bodywork in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She was the first to agree to do this featured practitioner series with me, and I did share some about her practice and her work in my first series on explaining what a practice niche is. So I was explaining the specialized massage therapy aspect of the healthcare field and how that can be really amazing for serving a particular audience, and she does that with a specialized type of massage called Thai massage, especially for athletes with tightness. So she has a very distinct laser focused area in which she is a licensed massage therapist. And the other person that I recently interviewed is Flegg from Wichita Falls, Texas, not Wichita, Kansas, from Texas, but he also grew up in Oregon, so we have a lot in common. And he owns Revive Therapeutic Massage. Just a really awesome guy, has a really interesting history. He grew up in England. His dad is from Germany, and then he moved to the United States as a child and was a pastor for almost 20 years. So a lot of his work reflects the background that he has as a spiritual guidance and mentor and counselor. And he actually prayed with me on the phone during the interview, at the end of the interview, which is great because I have a background in that as well, and we have like a shared common story theme. So those are the two people that I've already interviewed. I've got a bunch more lined up, and if you are a practitioner who owns a business and you serve patients and you have a very clear idea of what your patient's needs are or how you specialize, then I would love to hear your story. I have a process that I use to go through this interview, and you can find more at laconteconsulting.com/practice niche. That's NICHE. But I just want to give a real brief story. I want to tell you a story about what I realized a couple of days ago. So it's springtime here in the United States. I know that it's different on the other hemisphere, but here a lot of plants are starting to pop up and grow. And for the last couple of years in my garden, I've been allowing pretty much anything that grows up to just keep growing. I haven't really treated it like a very good garden. I'm not a very good gardener. I try really hard, but I end up feeling bad for the plants that want to grow and kind of just allow them to grow, and I haven't had very good limits on what is going to take precedence in my garden. So in the last couple of years, I've had one year where all the tomato plants just completely choked everything out, and so we had a lot of tomatoes and nothing else. Last year was the year of the pumpkin apocalypse. All of my pumpkin plants just decided to take over, and they literally crowded out everything else that I had tried to plant. I did try last year to have a conscious plan for my garden, but I just felt so bad for my pumpkin plants, so I just let them take over. And this year I'm going to be much more thoughtful and focused. I planted potatoes already, and I have a lot of other things that I want to grow. But maybe this is one of the challenges you have, saying no to things that are good, but that choice causes other things to fail or to not produce fruit. And in business, it's very, very similar. It's just like tending a garden. There are certain things that you can plant and that you need to allow to take precedence over other things that are equally good but aren't going to result in the outcome that you want in your business goals. And unless you are very clear on what your goals are and you decide to prune those areas that are not going to serve you long term, you end up having a garden full of huge pumpkin plants and nothing else. There's just no variation, and basically the strongest plant will win. So in business, if you allow your business to kind of guide you instead of you taking the reins and being the captain of the ship, as I say, then you won't have the choice to direct your business in the way that you want it to go. And it's basically other factors are going to cause your business to change in a way that may not be in line with your goals. So if you want to avoid having a garden full of one type of plant, and that's not the only thing you want to grow, then you need to make a conscious choice to get rid of the things that aren't going to serve you. I really should have pulled out some of those pumpkin plants, and instead I just thought, hey, what's a garden full of pumpkins going to look like? And I found out really fast that they take over and they choke everything else out. A business niche is a specialization. It's one specific area that you select based on your understanding of your target patients or target clients, and that you focus all of your attention and energy on to the exclusion of everything else. One of the biggest fears that a practitioner would have in doing this is that it's going to cause them to turn people away, or to not be able to serve the needs of people that need their help, or that they'll feel that they're rejecting people. It's a very common fear to have. But what actually happens if you try to serve everyone is that you end up being undifferentiated. You just don't have a clear message that other people can understand and can line up to. You know, that they can't necessarily they won't be able to hear your message as clearly. So instead, by picking one area of specialization, you could do it in the type of demographics of people you serve. If you know that your target patient is a certain type of person in a certain age group who does a certain kind of occupation or has a certain type of lifestyle, then that is one area in which you can niche. But you don't have to stop there. You can also do location, as both of the practitioners I interviewed are very location focused, since their work is primarily hands-on. It's very hard for them to, unless they would consult, they really can't do their service for someone from a distance. So they're very location focused. Another way to niche is through the health condition or the symptoms of someone that would come and look for your services. You can actually niche so far down that you only serve people with one type of health condition. And that isn't necessarily too limiting. I've actually seen people that focus on just one rare disease, and people from all over the world seek out their help because they're now the expert. They've done research, they've done work, they have outcomes from patients that have been helped by their therapeutic method, and now they are world renowned for that one very, very limited specific health condition. It's really, really beautiful when that happens. Another thing you could use is the treatment method, the techniques, the modalities, the therapies that you use. You could be very, very well versed in just that. And if most of the people in your industry are using one general type of treatment, like in chiropractic, it would be, there's like a handful of treatment methods that almost every chiropractor uses, then maybe try something that you've found great results in, but aren't as commonly used, and become really, really expert at that method. Something else you could use is the body system or the body area. Just yesterday I was talking to Chris about how maybe your expertise is in feet if you are a hands-on therapist and you just work on feet, or that's your primary area that you focus on. Maybe you don't like feet, and in that case you should not be niching in that body area. But if that's what you're passionate about, what you're interested in, then that's a really great area to focus on. And very few practitioners in most healthcare fields focus on specific body systems. They focus more on the whole body, which you do need to do, But to stand out, that might be one way to set yourself apart from all the competitors. Another way would be the delivery method. How do you provide the service? Is it hands-on in an office setting? Is it at another location that you share with other practitioners? Do you provide house calls? That's actually becoming more common and really unusual, but I'm telling you, it serves so many people's needs. It's not something that most practitioners want to do, but patients will pay more if you show up at their house. It eases the transition into them getting care, especially if it's an emergency type of situation like pain. That's almost always pretty emergent for a patient. The other delivery methods could be communicating virtually. You could provide consultations or advice or manage decision making for a patient from a distance. And depending on the laws in your state and the state of the person that you're treating, that can be a beautiful thing. Telehealth, telemedicine is really popular and becoming much easier for patients to consume information. And I think it's a really effective way to provide treatment depending on what you do. And finally, patient interests and the trends that are going on in the healthcare world. The things that people like to do for fun. I like to garden. I love my worms. I am a huge worm lover. I know that sounds really weird, but earthworms are the key to good gardens and to healthy soil. And the soil is what makes plants grow. So that's one of my interests. I talk about that on my Instagram account quite a lot. And I also really like honeybees. I think they're fascinating creatures. They all have distinct personalities. They're just really, really cool. So those are some of my interests, and your patients might find something that you can connect with in terms of interests that relate to their daily lives. So a way to niche might be to specialize in that. For Chris, it was his faith-based experiences as a pastor. For Beth, it's her expertise in sports and yoga. And once you have that shared interest, patients can be attracted to wanting your help as opposed to someone else who does something similar. So these are just some of the ways that you can figure out what your niche would be. And I have some graphics on the components of a triple niche. I call it triple niche because I think there are really 3 ways that every company should kind of silo down or, specialize what they do as opposed to 1 or 2. I think the more specialized you can communicate your message, the better you'll be able to reach your target audience or your ideal customer or patient. So I hope this has been helpful. I would love to hear from you and hear what your ideas are on niching, so you can communicate with me through social media or on my website, lacanticonsulting.com. Have a great day.